Welcome to episode 1 of the BroCo podcast. We're so excited to be here with you guys today. We're so excited to record this. I think we're also a little anxious, but
Yeah, we are.
but you know what? We're here and we're ready. So, without further ado, my name is Tyler. I'm a host of the BroCo podcast.
And I am Adam, and I'm the other host of the BroCo podcast. That's a mouthful.
It is. Yeah, we're going to have to practice that a few times probably. So, episode 1, we're talking about you are the business. So, what do we mean by that? Well, we mean you should treat your personal life like you're running a business. And that can be a little difficult to imagine because not all of us, probably most of us, don't have our own business.
Yep.
So we're going to kind of walk through, what we mean by you are the business and how that can change your life and change your goals. So when we're thinking of businesses, we're thinking of money, revenue, things like there's 5 different classifications of transactions when it comes to money. And those are revenue, expenses, assets, liabilities, and equity.
Mm-hmm.
And we can apply that to our personal lives as well. So revenue, obviously that's your wages, your salary. That's a pretty basic and easy one for us to understand. And then expenses, that's, your car payment, groceries, rent, things that we spend money on that are necessary.
Things our wives spend money on that aren't necessary.
Right.
Or girlfriends.
Right. Definitely. So basically, we have revenue minus expenses that equals our net income for the year.
And we definitely would like that to be a positive number, not a negative number.
Right, for sure.
Again, the wife and girlfriend have a lot to do with that. Kids.
Yeah.
Anybody have any daughters? Oh boy, tell you what.
Right. So now assets, this is where it might get a little more tricky. And when we're talking about assets, we're talking about things that you own that have value. So that could be your car. That could be your checking account. That's the cash you have available to spend. Your house, if you own some equity of your house.
Your boat, if you got a boat.
Right.
I don't, but I'd love to have one.
Yeah. That'd be cool, right?
It would. Your camper.
Yeah. Anything that you own that you have value in would be considered an asset. And then we have liabilities. So these are things that you owe to other people. So that's usually credit card debt, student loan debt, whatever's left on your mortgage. Generally with liabilities, we're paying an interest. And that's true of businesses and us as individuals.
Mm-hmm.
So there's going to be interest involved. And that means that we want to pay it as soon as possible. So we want our liabilities to be as close to zero as we can possibly get them year after year.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have equity. And this is probably maybe the most difficult, depending on what your experience is with investments. But that's going to be things like what stocks are you invested in? Your IRAs and your 401ks, what's your balance in there? These are things that are technically assets, but they're in a long term. So in a business perspective, when we talk about equity, we talk about how much do the people that we are putting our stock out to, how much do they own in the company? Because technically your shareholders are your owners.
Yep.
In an individual sense, it's similar, but not quite the same because it's things that you own, but you own of other companies that maybe you're not involved with. And we'll get deeper into that in later episodes when we talk about investing and things like that. Yep. The basic formula, the science of accounting that businesses use to keep track of their expenses and their transactions is the same basis that we use as individuals. You probably do accounting without even realizing it.
Yeah,
sometimes.
If you put together a family budget or whatever you're listing out, you're looking at how much money am I bringing in and what are my expenses, and do I have enough money to cover that, or do I have money left over, or do I have a deficit?
Right.
And what am I going to do about that?
Yep. Even something as simple as Like, let's say you're going to buy a new house and you're like, okay, well, here's the down payment, here's the mortgage payments, this is what I'm going to pay every month. That right there, you're already doing accounting just by looking at that kind of stuff. And you obviously want to get the best possible interest rate,
Yeah, I was going
right?
to say, don't forget about the interest rate.
Right. Essentially, your financials, the way that we can look at our financials is in the same way that we can look at a business's financials. So even if you don't have an accounting degree, understanding those 5 basic ideas and what those 5 basic account classifications are, you're already one step ahead of the curve.
So Tyler, what would you consider like our baseball cards and all that kind of stuff?
um,
Asset or
Definitely an
equity?
asset. The reason why I say asset is because generally when you're looking at collectibles, this is also true in business. When you're looking at owning collectibles, such as sports cards that appreciate in value over time, then generally those will be classified as assets and they can be depreciated. It's probably difficult to try and depreciate sports cards. If you don't know what depreciation is, it's basically your like non-cash expense for owning an item. So cars depreciate every year; they decrease in value.
When you drive it off the lot, it depreciates a lot, doesn't it?
Right. So that's kind of a basis for depreciation. I won't get too deep into it, but if you don't
Mm-hmm.
know what it is, that's what it is. It's just a decrease in value year after year due to use.
Mm-hmm. One other question related to that before we move on, maybe to the next topic. So, what about like precious metal and gold? That doesn't depreciate. So, would that be considered an asset or equity or?
Um I think it depends on what you're investing your gold with. If you're buying bars, I would say it's an asset. Because it appreciates in value. Um, like if you're investing in the gold ETF fund, then it's equity because you don't have direct access to it. It's not tangible, um, but you own a stake in it, which
Right.
is what makes it equity.
Okay. So the hard asset would be gold, but the ETF would be like the ticker GLD or GGX or something like that,
Right.
where they're holding that asset and it's more of an investment at that point.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay.
Just so that our listeners are clear on that.
Right. Right. Okay. So we'll go into relationships here. So obviously, if you're married, that's a relationship that you build on.
Yeah, you do.
And so in a business perspective, when you're looking at your life like it's a business, that's your partner or your co-owner, right? So
In my case, it's my boss.
right. For some of us, it might be boss. But you're in this together. The things that happen in your life probably impact your partner's life, and the things that happen in their life probably impact your life.
Mm-hmm.
That's how it's similar to a business, because if you're in a partnership or if you have multiple owners, the actions of one partner affect the outcomes of another partner. Um,
Yeah.
your assets are their assets.
Right. 50
So
50, right?
right. So if you're going out and you're deciding that you're going to buy a house, then your spouse is a part of that. That's your partner, right? There's also the people around you. So we're talking family, friends, people outside of your immediate family space. So excluding kids, excluding spouses. What kind of impact do they have?
Mm-hmm.
Because essentially, this is your team. These are the people that are supporting you. These are the people that are supporting
Yep.
your operations per se. Not
they,
necessarily financially.
they can very much impact you positively or negatively in life.
Right. Culture in a business, maybe at your jobs, they talk about business culture, company culture. It's very similar in your own life. What kind of culture do you have around you? What kind of culture are your family and friends creating in your life around you? And is that a culture that you want?
You want to be a part of, basically,
Right.
right?
Is that a culture that you want to be known for?
Is it good for you in your personal and even professional growth? Because that can spill over to your professional life.
Correct. And if that's not, then do they need to get fired, quote unquote? Right.
Fired.
Right. Um, Sometimes those are decisions that we have to make. Just like in a business, the boss doesn't always want to fire people, but sometimes he has to for the good of the team and for the good of the business.
Mm-hmm.
Similar concept in your life. Sometimes you have to let people go, or you have to at least take some space away so that you can stay healthy and make sure that your life continues, so you can build the culture that you want. Family is like your management team. With your management team, in business, those are the people you trust the most. Those are the people who are highest up in your company. Those are probably the people that are going to be more hard to let go of.
Yeah.
Right? Those are the people that you're really going to struggle with. This is my blood. Do I want to do this to my blood? Sometimes, you don't need to like completely cut them out, like never talk to them again kind of thing. Sometimes you might need to.
For a little while, you might.
Right. But it doesn't need to be forever.
No.
Those are tough choices that we have to make, for the good of ourselves and for the good of our immediate family. Sometimes we have to make those choices and create that space so that we can continue to grow, and develop our culture. Lastly, mentors.
Yeah, this is huge, I
Yeah,
think.
this is a huge deal. These are kind of like your suppliers. They feed your business, quote
Yeah.
unquote. They feed your development. They feed your growth.
On a professional level, especially.
Mentors could also be like a friend that you have that's just, they're really into a certain part of their life and you just want to get better at that part of your life. And so they're like a role model for you.
Yeah, I have a mentor, and it's someone who's in the same industry as I am. We can bounce ideas off of each other. I can call them up and I can vent to them. It's a huge thing to be able to have a sounding board to develop you from a professional basis and give you advice. Maybe it's a major life change or a major professional change that you're considering, and you don't want to take those lightly. So it's always good to have someone that is somewhat impartial but has your best interests at heart. And we all know who some of these people are. It's obvious when you talk to them and you interact with them. We'll talk about this probably in another episode, but I think not just having a mentor, but being a mentor is so critical.
Right. Right. You learn a lot being a mentor too.
You do.
um, Now let's talk about, what is your product? What are you putting out there? What's your purpose? What's the reason behind your business? You have to define that for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody's got a different product that they're trying to put out. It can be legacy, passions, interests. Another way of saying what is your product is, what is your goal? Where do you want your life to go? What are your dreams? Who do you want to be in the next 10 years? And how can you create product line extensions? Right. So what does that look like in a personal life? Well, that's leveraging your connections.
Mm-hmm.
Looking for additional opportunities. They say now that you should have 5 streams of income if you want to be able to retire by the age of 65. And if that's true, then that requires 4 additional product extensions from what you're doing from your main job.
Or maybe you're passionate about investing. You're making a little bit of extra money on the side, buying and selling stocks or other types of investments.
Maybe you're passionate about volunteering in the community. That's one of your products that you're putting out.
Yeah.
And that's just as important of a product, because you want to put that out there to help your community. Businesses actually have what they call it, an implied responsibility to their community around them as well.
Mm-hmm.
So they'll do a lot of things like charity events and like donating.
Philanthropy, right?
Right, philanthropy.
Yep.
So it's not always monetary.
Right. This podcast,
right,
is one of our products that we're putting out. We want to make an impact on ourselves and grow, and we want to help other people grow professionally and personally.
maybe you want to start your own business, or maybe you do have your own business. That could be a legacy thing, it could be a passion thing, and it could be an interest thing. You
Yep.
can have multiple different products coming out by creating a business.
Imagine if you could find something that you're really good at, that you really love, that you could do as a business and make a living, and you can leave a legacy and positively impact your community.
Right.
That's where it's at, man. That's the American dream.
Businesses have to budget. They have a lot of expenses year after year. Individuals have to budget because we have a lot of expenses. You know, a lot of times we'll have these one-off expenses. Maybe it's a vacation. And we're going to buy a new house, buy a new car, that we have to really, really sit down and look at it and budget it out, because we don't even know if we can make it happen.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Those are important things that we have to do in our life that are kind of like we're treating ourselves like a business.
Yeah, and when you don't do that, then that's when you obviously can get into some trouble.
Goals. So weekly, monthly, yearly goals and execution. They always talk about the New Year's resolutions, which are infamous because people will say, "Oh, this is my New Year's resolution." Very few people stick to it. So it's very important that if you're going to set a goal,
make it attainable, right?
You make it attainable. You create the little steps. These are the baby steps that I have to take. Like when we made this podcast, I mean, our goal didn't happen overnight. It took us weeks, months, years.
I mean, what you're saying is there's a lot of small steps and small goals to reach a big goal. So if you set a smaller goal, that's quite achievable, and you achieve that goal, and then you go for the next goal, and you achieve that, and you go for the next one, and you achieve that, until you finally end up meeting that major goal.
Right.
And that's kind of how the podcast went. There was a lot of different steps, like you said, until we finally are here right now at episode 1.
Right. And businesses, they set goals as well. They want to be at certain places by the end of the year, by the end of the quarter. You know, we probably do this daily. So a lot of people, you're going to realize as we're talking that these are things that you already do, you know, but maybe you need to get better at.
Or maybe you need to think about them a little bit differently.
Right. Tracking your time. At my job, we call these GSDs. You know, the things that we're going to get done today, 3 to 5 things that we're going to get done.
I think that's a really cool concept. I was telling you that, you know, when you brought this up to me.
Yeah. And then everything after that is just one more extras. That's what we utilize. Is we say, what's 3 to 5 things that we need to get done today? And I've started applying it to my own life. You know, these are 3 to 5 things I need to get done today. Maybe it's an assignment. Maybe it's something as small as I need to pay a bill or go to the store and get groceries. That allows you to create momentum and stack your wins up every day. Even the smallest wins create momentum towards bigger wins. And then what's your standard operating procedure each day? In our personal lives, what an SOP looks like, there's a routine. What's our routine when we wake up in the morning?
It's a roadmap, right?
Right. It's a roadmap. You know, what's our routine throughout the day? We wake up, brush our teeth, you know, maybe we do some push-ups, you know, education. So that's kind of the next big thing. Businesses need to continually grow and grow their skills, grow their knowledge to advance. On a personal level, always be learning. Keep your mind active. It looks different for everybody. Obviously, I'm a college student, so for me, it looks like some college classes.
Mm-hmm.
But you can even go and watch a YouTube video.
Yeah, I've been doing a lot of that lately. There's a lot of really good content on YouTube.
Maybe you're reading a book, watching a podcast.
BroCo.
There's also LinkedIn Learning, which some of you might not be familiar with.
Yeah, there's a lot of good stuff there I didn't know about, so you should check that out.
Articles, read some articles. I like Wall Street Journal. I read Wall Street Journal almost every day.
Yeah, I read a lot of trade magazines.
Certifications. So right now I'm working on my enrolled agency.
Yeah, you passed your first test. Congratulations.
Non-credit training classes.
At community colleges, there's a lot of really good non-credit classes that you can take where you don't have to sit through, a semester long course. Maybe you just want to learn a little more about something.
And professional trade shows and seminars, that's a big thing for you in your industry.
It is. Yeah. I try to go to a lot of them for some of the specific industries, like the ethanol industry, learning more about your customers and what their challenges are, and so that you can help them solve their problems.
You should consider every opportunity that comes your way, no matter how big or small it is. There's a multitude of opportunities that will come your way throughout your life. And, especially if you're unhappy where you're at,
Yep.
you should consider every opportunity that comes your way, whether that's a new job, a new side hustle, a new passion, whatever it might be. Every opportunity that you get, you should at least consider it.
Yeah, be willing to listen, because you just never know. You could have someone like a recruiter that could reach out to you. It's always worthwhile just to have a conversation and understand, what is that opportunity? What does it look like? And is it something for me, or is it not? But just making that connection later on, you just don't know where that could lead. So
Right.
always be open to those types of, like, when I go to the trade shows, one of the biggest things that I do is I go around to every single booth that I possibly can, and I talk to them. I ask them about their products. I introduce myself, find out more about what they do.
And that can apply to our personal lives as well, because you don't know where you're going to find that next mentor, that next really good friend. Now we'll talk about professionalism, which obviously that's big in the business world, but in your personal life, it's big as well. You should always carry yourself like you're wearing a suit and tie everywhere you go, because you don't know who you're talking to. You could be talking to your next boss.
Mm-hmm.
So you should always carry yourself, especially out in public, like you're wearing a suit and tie. You should watch, how you carry yourself, how you come across to people, because it matters. You should treat your social media like it belongs to a business, because again, you never know who's watching. It's a big thing nowadays where when you get interviewed for a job, they'll actually go and look you up.
Yep.
And
they will.
If you don't want an employer to find it, you probably shouldn't post it.
With LinkedIn and with Facebook and some of my other platforms, I have coworkers and customers that are on there, and you got to be careful. So
right, and that just builds a personal brand.
Mm-hmm.
So you might go into a job interview and they're like, "Oh, I remember I met you however many years ago, and you were great. I love your stuff."
Yep.
You just don't know. So that's building a personal brand. And take the high road. Have high ethical standards. You want to have high ethical standards because, again, you're trying to build a personal brand, and you're trying to have a positive perception of yourself from other people.
Going new places, doing new things, and trying new things, so that you can constantly be growing as an individual. And don't be afraid to go new places, do new things, and try new things. Allowing yourself some downtime so you can recoup and recharge. It's okay to take time off. It's okay to take a vacation and to put things.
Take this information and really apply it. Treat your life like it's a business, because when you do, you're going to see a lot of benefits and a lot of growth that comes out of it, and your life will be a million times better for it. I know we implement a lot of these strategies in our own lives, and we're creating wealth for ourselves and driving our lives to a better place.
And there's a lot of these things that are on this list that I'm sure that we can do better too, and we need to implement. And so it's a constant journey that you have to try and keep up on in order to move forward.
If there's anything else that you'd like to throw in there that we missed, that maybe you feel is relevant to the topic, feel free to comment that down below or contact us about it.
Yep, absolutely.
We
Please
love
do.
Feedback.
Yep, we want feedback.
And with that being said, that was the first episode of the BroCo podcast, and we're so excited for this journey to finally be on it with you guys. Like, subscribe, comment below. Make sure that you subscribe to our podcast on your favorite podcasting channel. And we're also on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify,
yep.
Amazon Music.
Oh, I forgot about Amazon Music. Yep.
Yep. We're on all of those platforms, so make sure you subscribe on there. And we'll see you guys next episode.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Thanks.